ready to extract myself from that text chain. There we go. Catch up. There we go. Hi there. Alright. I am late to my own stream and probably not going to be able to stream very long because of it. All thanks to work. It's a wonderful thing. But yeah, work, we had some meetings that ran late, and so I was able to go on lunch late. But I'm here. The good news is I will at least get some time in because that means my lunch will run late, which is always a nice concession as a unioned employee. I'm guaranteed my my hour off for my lunch break, so if not more, depending on what my schedule allows. And usually my schedule is actually permissive enough that I can do that because I'm responsible enough to actually get my work done within the amount of time. And, you know, as long as the work's getting done, who cares exactly what else I do while I'm sitting in this chair. At any rate, I don't know, me ranting and raving aside, welcome. We're going to do some more work on the world here, namely the region that we just started. Finished off last time. We're kind of working on the map here, and my goal for today is just to finish at least the framework of the map here. I think that's going to be really easy. I think we're going to be able to move on even beyond that today, but I am learning that I tend to, especially if people show up and we get some questions and conversations and stuff going on during the stream, I've definitely learned that if I get distracted with that kind of stuff, if I overpromise what I'm getting done in the day, I'm just going to end up disappointing myself and everyone else. So the goal is to try and finish off our map here with whatever landmarks and major things I'm intending to get done. And then we'll move on to more stuff if necessary. You'll have to forgive me, though, if I'm I'm also organizing with some friends to plan the first leg of my vacation that will stop me from streaming next week, which is a camping trip this weekend. And so we're working out a lot of the logistics there. So if I spend a little bit more time quickly checking my phone while I'm streaming, which I know is super unprofessional, I apologize. But you know, it's getting to crunch time for all that kind of stuff. We're leaving Friday night, leaving for the campground Friday night, and then we're going to be roughnecking it. And as the text chain is discussing right now, huffing it without toilets. So some of the guys are going to be figuring out for the first time how to poo without a nice cushy toilet seat caressing them and holding them in place while doing it. So that's actually going to be one of the most fun parts about camping, though, is watching those who are less used to camping. Prince John, you entered. Yeah, I'm talking about camping. That's I'm just explaining why I'm not streaming next week, as well as why I'm occasionally looking at my phone here. We're organizing the first leg of my vacation week next week is a camping trip, and there's some guys who are less versed than me and some of the rest of us at camping. I have a fair bit of camping. It's been quite a few years since I've done like true blue roughneck, you know, no amenities at all. Camping. It's been a few years since I've done anything that intense, but I have a fair bit of experience having camped through different national parks in Africa during college, actually, which was an absolutely fascinating experience. I absolutely loved that. But because of that, I have a fair bit of experience camping, to the point that I'm actually kind of over planning and over preparing for what is just going to be a 2-night camping trip. But it is what it is. Yeah, exactly. It's funny you mentioned bidets, because that's exactly the joke that one of my compatriots made. He's like, I will refuse to poop this weekend unless there is a bidet present. Hey, Spooky, how's it going? Good to see you. We're discussing pooping while camping. It's a very wholesome, clean, comfortable conversation to fall into. I should probably stop talking about it. I think he's fucking around with us, but he is definitely one of the new ones. Like I think he'll make out okay just because he's super easygoing, but I think he's not prepared for what a rustic camping experience is going to be. By the sounds of it, I'm the only one planning on bringing a little camp stove with me, so I'm not entirely sure what they're all planning on eating besides beer on this trip, but I'll let them figure all that out. I got myself a little camp stove, plenty of water. I got myself some quick instant rice, some ramen to just boil up some water real quick and make myself a quick easy meal, as well as some PBJ. I'll be good for a weekend. I'm good to go for a weekend. Get that in a water bottle. Not much else you need. Not much else you need. So, food-wise. Oh, and coffee. Of course I'm bringing coffee, but I mean, that goes without saying. Who would camp without coffee? I mean, really. But yeah, at any rate. So if I occasionally check my phone, that's why. We're trying to work on finishing off the logistics for that trip, because it really is coming right up. Assuming that the weather does not screw with us. The weather report has bounced back and forth whether or not it's going to be sunny or thunderstorming all week at the campsite. So that's one of the things that we're kind of like, well, we'll just play that one by ear and see how it goes. But at any rate, I'm not camping right now. I'm streaming right now, and we're gonna work on. We're going to be working on this new region that we started here. I was just kind of saying, my goal for today is to finish off the major landmarks of this map, and get this map in a satisfactory place so that everything else we add on is just an extra detail here or there. That's what I'm attempting to accomplish today. I think it should be easy to do that. I think it will not take long to do that, but I'm a little strapped for time because I started late today, and also, as demonstrated by the fact that I've spent the first 10 minutes talking about camping poop, I tend to get distracted when we're having conversations, which I think that's what makes it fun, and I don't have a problem with that, but I am learning that over-promising is a bad idea. So the first thing I want to do here is I do want to label this. We need to make our font size like 200 here. This needs to be big. Big ass fucking big. Because we are going to we're going to name these mountains. I'm blanking on what these mountains are. These mountains actually have a real name. I should just open up. Oh, you know what? I think the smarter way to do it is going to be to come through. Not that one. We need world map here just to make sure I spell everything right. Because I know me, and despite the fact that I created it, I am so bad with names and proper nouns that I will get it wrong. The High Doom Mountains, the H comes after the U. High Doom Mountains. That's the mountain range that we're working on here. The Thol Muldur are these ones here, but we are located south of the Siski Forest by the High Doom Mountains. So that's what we need to label this as. High Doom. Oops, see, I did it wrong. I even looked at it. High Doom Mountains. I personally prefer Bilbo as a font, for obvious reasons. I think that should probably go without saying for most people. And we need to get some curvature going here, so we can just follow the curvature of the mountains. And I think position-wise, I think that we can just put it like right there, so it's kind of out of the way. I mean, we could put it there or something like that, so it's really out of the way. But that gets kind of crowded to the eyes, don't you think? I don't know that that's super visually pleasing to me. So I'm thinking we'll commit right there. Maybe and maybe we can change it. We can always move it around if we need to. I don't know though, because that's just really in the way. Maybe I won't even label them. Maybe we'll just accept that this region is the High Doom Mountains, and we won't label it for the sake of the local map, and we'll just leave it to more localized things. I don't know. I guess I'm actually gonna delete this for now and add it back in, because I'm not convinced that I actually want that there. So I think, yeah, I just think it's I think it's distracting. I think it's distracting, and I don't like it. What he got from me coding is simply. I wouldn't know anything about that. I know jack all about coding. I'm always super impressed by people who have the patience and skill to do coding. I know Jack diddly squat about coding. The most I've ever experimented with coding is on my graphing calculator in high school, I programmed in all of the all of the formulas for all of the stuff in like trig and everything, so that way I didn't actually have to do math on my tests and stuff. I could just plug all the like variables in and it would spit out the answer for me. But even that's not actually coding, that's programming. Those are different things. So yeah, I know jack shit about coding. So you're on your own with that one. I can't help you there. It's I think it's awesome that you're into it though. I think we need coders because that's how we end up with like cool ass shit like I'm using right now. So fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Oh shit, we got a camping text here. Oh shit, what's happening? Nice. One of our guys has gotten a portable like stovetop station for a campfire type of setup. So I'm not the only one thinking about being able to cook food on this trip. That's excellent. That is excellent. Genuinely makes me happy because I don't want to use up an entire fuel canister because none of those buttheads thought about how they were going to cook their own food. Oh boy. Okay, what else does this need? I want this to have a couple rivers. And I like the idea of rivers kind of flowing. We need to have, like, most of this water source mostly flows from the mountains. So I'm thinking there might be like a river that leads over there that comes, it's like runoff from the mountains and fills this lake, right, from like snow melt and stuff like that, seasonally speaking. This place is north enough and the mountains are tall enough that there would be seasonal snow. Oh my gosh, my nose is itching. We're starting one of those days where my nose is just going to itch all day long. I hate these days. So I'm thinking we might put a little river there, but most of it's coming from there. But then I like the idea of this being kind of upland. Like there's like a basin here that collects water, but then a river extends out from it and heads towards, like kind of comes off of here and then heads towards the where the sea is, where it eventually interacts with the sea way down there. So there would be some massive, some very massive rivers, like almost like Amazon River type of situations going on there. You know, like I think that would be, and that would add a little bit of diversity to our landscape here. Oh shit, they're blowing up my phone now. We're gonna wait till they calm down with text, and then I'll let myself get distracted with that because I can only handle so much. But yeah, so I like the idea of river coming off of here. Actually, wait, hold up. I'm gonna like start it here. That's gonna look kind of weird, but that way we have like a noticeable river coming off of there rather than it like being a little pube hair coming off of it. Oops, shoot, I was supposed to. Oh, dang it. Damn it. Fucked it up. Hold up. Yeah, if we just do this, and then we'll eyedropper the color there to have it match. And I'm thinking river can come along down here. There we go. Perfect. And then I had the river below the water. Beautiful. Exactly how I needed it. So we've got a river there, and I always think it just makes rivers more interesting if you kind of just do that to disguise it a little bit and like have it branch off a little bit. I just think rivers are much more interesting if there's a branch of some sort. Might not necessarily be the most realistic thing, but this is a fantasy make-believe world, so realism is kind of out the window anyway. Realism can suck one because I'm not super concerned about it. Oops, hold up. Okay, there we go. So we got those, and I just think it'll make it look more interesting if there's like a river going across there. I don't even want to do it necessarily because I think it's necessary. I think it's interesting, and the thing about a map like this is it is functional for the sake of players, right? So we're making our map for the sake of offering visual cues for players to understand where they're traveling. as they're going through whatever missions and whatever worlds we end up planting in this region for people to use. But it's also a visual. It's a set piece. It's a decoration, right? Like that's like for me anyway what makes the actual like the use of actual materials rather than just completely theater of the mind worth it. Because if everything were boring, then I would say, well, let's just do theater of the mind. Let's not use like actual battle grids or anything like that. Let's actually consider, let's actually use the tools available to us and stuff. That's because it offers functionality, but it also just makes it pretty, right? We want it to look nice and pretty. I want to be proud of this, and I want it to look beautiful when I'm done with it. So I'm going to do a river that kind of winds through the mountains here. And then, actually, you know what I think would be kind of cool? If our river kind of flows up here and then actually meets up with it. I think that'd be an interesting way to show the land flowing. Like we've got some valleys and peaks and stuff like that, right? So it goes off down there, and then I'm going to make one more that just kind of originates. It's kind of from up around there. And this flows kind of through this little relative low point here, and goes just right by our city there and flows into our lake there, you know, and we would in theory have more of them that go there. But I think that looks pretty cool. I think that adds a lot of intrigue there. I'm just, the only thing I'm wondering is if it would make sense for this river to also branch off and maybe go down there. Because ultimately, if we're looking at our land-based setups, right, we've got lowland all the way over here, so it wouldn't be extraordinary for a river to go along there based on where relative peaks and valleys are along these plains, right? If this is higher elevation going through here, like going along this little streak here, if this is higher elevation than what's up here and what's up here, it would make sense for a river to deviate and go down, you know, and go further down based on where the relative high points are, right? So I think we can get away with that without it being too shocking and strange. So what I'll do is grab it and then again just sort of like have it follow along a little bit there, and it branches off and it follows a relative low valley that goes down there. And already I think that just looks, I don't know, it just looks more visually appealing to me, and like I say, I think that's half the battle when trying to make an interesting map, right? Like, you want it to be visually pretty, which isn't always realistic. There are some parts of the land that are boring, but at the same time, I think nature has sort of a natural beauty and a lot of natural ratios to it based on just how land and physics work, right? And I think in a lot of ways the human mind is sort of conditioned to recognize those types of things. And so I think it's not unreasonable for this to look both realistic and pretty. And I like making my maps pretty, and I think every DM should want their maps to look pretty. Like I say, it's a set piece. It's not just a functional thing. It's a set piece. It's something that's important. I'm going to do one more here that goes along here. I want there to be, and then this one's going to meet up right here. Make sure it actually meets up. Yeah. There we go. See, I like that. I like there being some major rivers that originate from these mountains, right? Because we see these kind of scars that go through here, and the idea is that these are relative valleys to the peaks of the mountains. And so any water runoff from the mountains are going to eventually collect in whatever the nearest valley is here. And since we don't have an obvious valley here, it's almost more like there would be a little lake in here. So I almost, for these ones, like these, we've got the rivers that go through, the water's flowing. But I feel like in here, actually, what I really want to do here is I'm going to go to our land thing and I'm going to erase. Make it very small here. And I want to put some lakes here. Some hidden lakes in these little relative low points I think would be really interesting. And we can use those as we're designing and organizing missions, right? And in fact, we could even put like a lake right here. Just put little pieces of water around. Add some diversity to our map visually, as well as again, trying to give us a lot of options for where we're eventually going to place potential missions and whatnot. So I think dotting this area with these types of things actually is very compelling, and I actually really like this. I'm just visually appealing, extending that one out a bit so it looks like, you know, we can get a sense of depth for some of these. I think that kind of helps a lot of these look better, is if you have the lake obviously extending out beyond the boundaries of the mountain, although I actually want to, yeah, there we go, that looks good. Follows the contour of the mountain, but then it looks like it tucks in behind there. That just adds it, because like otherwise a lot of these lakes are going to look a little like, the lakes will end up looking top down while the mountains look like we're coming in at an angle, like almost a 45-degree angle from above, and that, at least for me while I'm looking at it, it definitely kind of messes with my eyes a little bit and makes me feel like I'm not looking at something that's realistic, you know. I actually don't like that. I'm going to repaint in, and with this tool you have to like the baseline, the tool, that what's interesting about this one is the baseline map is water, is ocean, and you paint on the land. So that's what I'm doing here. You can see I'm on the land tool, just in case anyone's curious how I'm using the Wonder Draft tool here. You paint on and erase the map, or the land, excuse me. So like here right now I want to extend this lake just a smidge, do something like that there we go. Extend that lake, and then that way, you know, and so to achieve that, oh great, there's a fruit fly. Oh, this is the worst. But yeah, to achieve that, I'm erasing the land rather than painting on water, which is, I don't know, like I just feel like that's a reasonable thing to point out, just because I know when I first was trying to figure out how to use this tool, that confused the piss out of me. So then the other thing that I like to do, the other thing that I'll do is, just to make these look a little bit better, is we have our elevation tool, where the way this works is like I could do this on the land and I could lower the elevation. I could lower the elevation to make it like to build a lake that way. But the way it does it is uneven. So, oops. It does it in like weird uneven ways, so it makes shorelines look rougher and much more interesting, much more realistic, rather than the round that kind of comes with when we're just doing the paintbrush, right? So I just kind of carefully go along here, right? And then I'm going to just carefully erase. Whoops, no, paint it on, sorry, paint it. Do that, and then again take our elevation tool, and then just kind of paint along there. Shoot, I did it again. There we go. There. See, so now the edges, the shoreline, so to speak, of this little lake look much more jagged and much more realistic. And you can also do the increase elevation, and you can do it the opposite direction too. And sometimes that looks better. Sometimes it looks better to reduce the elevation to extend the shoreline. But it's just really it's just a little trick that I've kind of caught on to. That can help make your lakes and your coastlines look a little less like straight line drawn with a straight edge, because those just, again, the visual appeal makes it look more realistic, more pretty, right? And that's a big thing for me. I'm all about that. I like my stuff to look good. You know, otherwise, what's the point of bothering to actually make that stuff? I actually need to go the opposite direction here and expand our lake just a little bit here. There we go. That looks good to me. That looks good. And then here, you know, and you can occasionally leave a little dot there, like there was a little island or something, right? No problems with doing something like that. We're going to increase our elevation here and step us away from the mountain just a little bit. There we go. There we go. Okay, I think that looks good. I think that looks perfectly good. So there we go. So there we've got some lakes there. And just doing that there, like I say, there's a sense of realism about that, because if we're talking about a mountain range, there will be seasonal snowmelt and stuff, so we will get water running off into these areas. But it also gives us the opportunity to add a lot of diversity in terms of enemies that we encounter, different types of dungeons and scenarios as we're working on building this region into a viable campaign area. So I think, oh, whoops, we got to get one more here. Forgot about this little guy here. Forgot about this little guy. I don't like this. See, and now I don't like when the borders are distracted or obscured by the mountain thing there. It makes it really obvious that the mountain is just like an added in, drawn on concept. So I like to just kind of do that, and then so it's either hiding behind the mountain or the border is very visible at the end. I don't like the shore to be hidden by the bottom of the mountain. That just looks strange. It looks like you've got a floating mountain, which isn't really what we're going for here. One other thing that I'm going to do, actually, reduce, and we're just going to do that just to make sure it is apparent that it looks like the lake extends into behind the mountains like that, right? So it's like definitely at the base of the mountains, and actually what I think would look kind of cool. Oh no, we don't do it that way. I think it would look kind of cool if we have our lake extend out a bit that way more. So there we go. Okay. So there we go. So now we've got some good looking water elements here in this map, and I think these are going to be really good to use once we're starting to try and plant in our interactables in this sandbox of a world that we're working on piece by piece here. But yeah, I do like this. I do like how this is, and I like all of the rivers flowing in one direction. I like, because like I know for myself, a lot of times the temptation would be to have rivers. So, and see here we have some rivers going the other direction there, going out towards that sea. But I like, and that would make sense in some sense. But I like one side being much more, much lower in elevation, where it's like the water and the runoff, the melt off is more likely to flow down in that direction. And so the one thing that I'm thinking now, though, that I might have to do is acknowledge what we've just added to the world here on our overall world map and add another river here. And I think add a couple of our rivers, and I think I'm going to do that. I'm just going to do that right now. Yeah, it's going to be simplified. It's not going to be exactly point to point, right? Because we're talking about, we're kind of trying to invoke the sense of medieval stuff, right, where they would have just done it by hand. So I don't really even want them to be 100% consistent in terms of scale and one-to-one of each individual mountain or each river or anything like that. Because I want it to kind of feel like, oh, the major stuff they generally get, but some of the smaller stuff isn't there, and the locations might be a little off. Like if you haven't done it, I encourage you to do it actually. Look at old maps from hundreds of years ago of wherever it is you live compared to a modern day map. And we're talking like a geographical, topographical map. If you look at them, you'll see, so I live in the state of Michigan, which is surrounded by lakes. It's not a land, it's the opposite of a landlocked state, really. We are surrounded by the Great Lakes. And so what's really interesting is looking at really old maps before they had satellites, before they had GIS technology and stuff like that. They just kind of had to step off the shorelines of the lakes and kind of guess at it. And so when you compare a satellite image to what a map that was hand-drawn hundreds of years ago looks like, they're drastically different. They're so extremely different, and it's downright fascinating to see. And so that's kind of the feeling that I want to invoke, honestly. I don't want this to send a generalized message of like, oh, this is an exactly accurate satellite image. No, these are hand-drawn maps, so they're gonna look a little funky, and that's not only is that okay, I think that's downright good. So I think what we're going to do, I think what I want is there to be one that kind of goes over there and feeds into that lake, because then that lake would then feed out there. And then we've got one that comes from that mountain, right? And it kind of like branches off, right? We had, and then we'll terminate there. And then what we'll do is we'll have the other ones, the other set, we have like a third one. But we can do kind of like that. That kind of goes down and meets up there. Let me check and see here, just to make sure I'm gotten my generalized count right. Yeah, so we've got river, river, and then river that meets up with that other one is what it is. So we've got that, and then what we can do then is river, river, river. There we go. So there's our rivers that generally match up. Not exactly, but again, that's not, I'm not going for exact. I'm going for a general invocation of, you know, a feeling, you know, or of the region. So there we go. So we've got those, and like realistically there will be tons of other small rivers, small little offshoots that end up, you know, in a small pond somewhere, or the opposite. You know, there can be, you know, depending on how things are, maybe there's a large, like this large lake, there's probably one that will then feed into it, because there's just a small low-level valley that like comes off of there or comes off of there for the lake. Realistically, there will be a lot of other small rivers that contribute or take from these rivers here, but that's not, I'm not super concerned about getting it that accurate. That would be, even for me and my detailed motherfucking ass, it would be a little much. It would be a little much. So one thing I do want to do though is with the rivers, how do we size? How do I? Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. Coastline color, freshwater outline. Yeah, so freshwater outline color, that's what we're using. Hey, Fanboy, how's it going? Fanboy, we are working on, I can't remember who was on Monday when I was starting this, but I've decided to start a new project, because what I wanted to do is, with all of the calls that people have had for me, making available some of the stuff that I write and stuff like that, I thought it'd be fun to just start an entirely new region of this world. So that way there's like video progression from start to finish of what we create, and there's a final product that kind of just has like the most detailed editor's notes possible, right? If people wanted to go back through the streams and the VODs and see kind of what the process of making it was, I thought it'd be kind of a cool project. So that's kind of what I'm working on, and my goal today is just basically finishing, I'm trying to finish up our region map. We are working on, I can actually go ahead and offer it up here. So here's our world map. We're working on this hex right here, because it's got a whole lot of stuff for us to work with. We've got mountains. I extended the forest down a little bit. I cheated just a little bit, but we extended down the forest. So we've got forest, we got mountains, we're putting in a lake, we got rivers, we got plains, whole lot of fun environments to explore. And so the very first things first, at least the way I go about things, is making our generalized region map. So that way we kind of have an understanding of what land we have to work with, what areas we have to work with. So then we can start thinking about what cool shit we can throw down in the map, to make the sandbox type of world that I'm working on. And so I've been without really meaning to, I've just been really focused on doing some water elements today, because we had our forest put in, we put our mountain range in here. Cool shit is always great. I love some cool shit. You will never see me be disappointed about getting more cool shit. That's because cool shit's where it's at. But yeah, so we had our mountain range here, and I'm still on the fence about whether I'm going to put a label for the High Doom Mountains here, or if we're going to leave it blank. I'm leaning more and more towards leaving it unlabeled there, because we have our world map that shows the label there. For the sake of players, they can do it, and you know, they can rename it if they want, but it would be big and distracting from the more important things here, which are like the smaller details that we're putting in now. But at any rate, we had that. We've got our main city. This is going to be our main settlement here. This is not one of the big settlements of this world. But if I'm making something to disseminate, I don't want people to necessarily be handcuffed to the idea that I use for my world, which is post-calamity, everything's terrible, there are hardly any civilizations around. So I'm kind of adding in the idea, and this isn't actually all that out there for my world, it's something that people are working on. There is this generalized effort to sort of expand the trade routes and slowly reclaim the wilds through those efforts. And so that's what this city, which I don't regret it, but I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name that I came up with. This ridiculously long name. We'll call it Novo. The city, this little out village of Novo, is a partway stop in an effort to, if we look at our world map here, in an effort to connect Fosvik with Mofafetting through a trade route, because we have the established safe trade routes that kind of connect up to this city over here, go down through here, kind of have a little divergence to connect that city right there, that city, and then it kind of goes around. And so as the people are trying to reclaim this torn apart world and rebuild, there's calls for cutting off some of the time for travel for a lot of trade stuff. So they're trying to slowly work on building, establishing a safe trade route that cuts through the Golden Wind Plains here. And so that's kind of what we're doing, and we've created a little village that's kind of tucked up right in there, right? It's a little tucked up place, a little tiny place right there. The logic for them being like, hey, we're tucked against a mountain and a lake. There's really only one way by land to come in here. We know this small lake isn't going to have a whole lot of horrible creatures, and we know most mountain creatures will probably stay in the mountains and not stray down into the fields from there. So it's a relatively safe place, you know, especially because there's this big river that then flows through there. So that kind of gives us an explanation for, in my world, why it's there. But then it also provides us the resources that we need so that anyone who wants to take this and use this for their own campaign, whether they use parts of it or all of it, there's something that's sensible and really is just a solid blank slate foundation that can be used by anyone for any purpose. Is sort of what my goal is anyway. That's what I'm attempting to achieve here. Because as much as I adore my world, every DM is going to have their own world that they want to do. And not only do I think that's great, I want to encourage that. And I want to provide, if I'm going to provide tools at all, I want to provide tools that support that and promote that. So, at any rate, that's what we've got here. We've got our city. And what I've been working on today is adding in some lakes here. For a couple reasons. One, it's realistic. These mountains here are not so far north that there wouldn't be seasonal snow melt at the top of the mountains. So we're going to end up with a lot of rivers in these relative valleys that we've kind of carved into our mountain range here, as well as some lakes for the more isolated low points, right? So in terms of just appearance of it, it makes sense for it to be there. But then the other thing about it too is this gives us a lot of fun stuff to be able to be able to make use of when we're designing just dungeons and fun things for players to explore in this sandboxy world. You know, so we've got all these kind of fun little isolated lakes that can be really cool places to tuck some unique things within this area. So we're kind of just creating a situation where we've got a little bit of everything, which for me is, well, golly, that's just one of the best ways you can do it, period. So I'm going to, let's see here. Or I'm going to actually, you know what I want to do right now? So we've got our rivers here, and I just want to match our color schemes here. So, never mind on that. Well, okay, let me see if I can get it. Oops, nope, that's not what I wanted. Zoom in here. Okay, this is how I want to do it. Fresh line outline color. I want to take this and do that, and then for the freshwater color, I want to kind of match that right there. So it's not as visually distinct, but you can still kind of see the rivers there, and actually I like it being a little less distinct. Feels a little less aggressive, maybe is the term I'm looking for in how it looks. Like, see, here we go. Get me, yeah, I know, we've got our color. Okay. No. There we go. See, so it's like, I don't know, I might want to make those a little bit darker, but it's just a little less aggressive in terms of appearance, and I think that looks a bit better. But really that comes down to personal choice, personal taste. So I think, people, if they're using this tool, should make their own decisions about that kind of thing. There we go. Okay, I like that. I like that. I like what we got there. See, I like what we got. See, cool. Cool beans. Cool stuff. Whatever other fun way of saying cool you might personally ascribe to. So yeah. Oops. No, that's not what I wanted. That ain't what I wanted. Okay. All right. So we've got. Oh, get me back here. There we go. So we got rivers, we got lakes, we got mountains, we got forest, we got plains. I mean, these are all just like plains lands. Is there anything that we don't have? You know, like that right there is kind of one of the questions now. Like, aside from stuff to do, are there any major landmarks that we don't have? I mean, I think we've kind of got every type of landmark covered. And I dig it. I am all about it. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. I love it. I love what we got going on here. One thing I do want to do, I do want to label this. We've got this little camp here, and we're going to label it. You know what I want to do actually first? Because I got goofy with our font size there. I want to see. We're at 38 for the font size. Okay. I want to make sure, there we go. I don't want Lancelot though, I want Bilbo. I think I have to change that other one to Bilbo too. I think I accidentally left that one, the city name as Lancelot there. But we're going to name this forward base. Just like a technical name. This isn't a settlement. This is as far as they've made it in terms of trying to accomplish, trying to build our long road, our trade route here, and that's the forward base. That's like how far they've made it, and they're maybe about a halfway. I don't know. I guess there's an easy enough way to figure out how far that would be. So if they're coming down here and they've made it to right around there, they're kind of halfway between the cities, but they're almost more like 2/5 of the way there from where the road ends to where they will meet up with Muffafetting there. But I guess it's not super important to dwell on anyway. So yeah, so there's our forward base, and that's gonna be kind of almost like a decent. It's not really a city, but like a busy enough camp. That'd probably actually be a good place to. That can be a really good place to serve as like a secondary base of sorts. It's a good way to. It's a good place to for if players want to do any sort of trade or anything like that of any resources they find. That the forward base is gonna serve us well for that, I think. So, okay. I think I don't know. I think I'm content. I think I'm content with this as our framework. I think looking at this looks very pretty. I think it looks very functional. I think there's a lot to do here. But I don't think there's too much as it is right now. I think this gives us a lot to work with, a lot of options, without making it feel cluttered. So I guess mission achieved for the day then, right? I wanted to finish the map, and we did that. So now we can start looking into some and thinking about some other stuff here, can't we? I think we can kind of start doing that. I think we can really start doing that. Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of want to take a second just to admire it. Just to admire the work here, right? Nothing wrong with enjoying what we've created. I wish the zoom in wasn't quite so much. I wanted to like zoom it in just a little bit, but still see the whole thing in all of its majesty, in all of its glory. Yeah, this is good. I'm proud of this. And I think that's a good thing to feel. I think we should all feel proud of the things we create, even if they're imperfect and even if we have to change or edit them later on. I think taking the initiative and putting forth the effort to create something is admirable. Period. Because I think a lot of people find, especially when they're first trying to create something, right? First time you draw something, first time you try to write a song, first time you try to draw a map, like we're working on here. I think it can be intimidating, and a lot of people sort of hit a stumbling block right then and there. And so I think overcoming that and ending up creating something is, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool, and I encourage anyone watching, either live or watching the VOD, I encourage you to give it a try. I absolutely encourage you to give it a try, because, you know, you end up with a pretty cool map. Pretty bitchin' map, right? Very, very Tolkien-esque. Very Tolkien-esque, in my approach personally to doing this, but cool. Cool. I'm going to save this so I don't lose any of this. I'm going to save that. I feel good about this. I feel good, guys. Ladies and gents out there, I feel good about this. I think this is going to be a fun thing. So, I do still have a bit of time. I've got about 20 minutes. And personally, I'm not one to waste a lot of time. When I've got time available to me, I like to use that. I like to use it and not squander it. So, I'm going to spend 20 minutes. Here's our notebook page that we had here. So let's just think about some generalities here. We've made our territory map. I'm not going to create a PDF of it yet because I want to create the territory map. What I put in here for the notebook to make available, right, and so that everything is just in one singular package, what I end up putting in there as the territory map, I'd like that to be a copy of the finished DM version of things. So we're not going to do that until we have all of our dungeons marked, all of our landmarks marked, and all that kind of stuff, because we do still have a lot of that stuff to add. You know, once we start adding in our dungeons and stuff like that. But for now, we're going to leave the map as it is. And let's start thinking about this general area. So, challenge rating. I'm going to change that. I use that because it makes sense for me. I'm going to say intended player levels is really what we're getting at. And I'm thinking that because I'm going to try and make this as something that's available to people, I'm thinking it would be smart to make this intended to be for levels 1 to 10. I think we've got enough map here and enough region that we can make enough stuff to make it good for up to level 10. I think we can cover 10 levels. But I want to start at level 1. I'm so sorry, I keep itching my nose. I'm sure it looks like I'm picking my nose. I swear to God, it's all on the outside surface. This happens to me. You can go through the VODs and see it. It happens to me a strange amount. I don't know why. Other than I assume it's just related to allergies. But at any rate, I think levels 1 to 10 is going to be good for this. Because that will give us... That'll make this so that way if there's... Because part of my thought is always when I create things, I try to make them as new DM friendly as possible. I like to keep them... I like to add a ton of detail without... I try to add all the detail in a way that also doesn't add restriction, just so that way if a DM accidentally makes a mistake and deviates from whatever I end up putting in this, my hope is there's enough detail that's just general in nature as far as like theme and purpose goes, so that players don't feel like, oh shoot, I messed it up, now the whole campaign is ruined, right? Instead they can be like, oh, I messed it up, I guess I'm homebrewing this part. You know, like we've got the details here and we'll just change up the motivations of people and the names of people or something like that is kind of my goal. And I know that's a super generalized goal. There's no real good way to describe it other than to just like go through and do it. But at any rate, because I'm trying to make things oriented towards I mean, I would hope anyone can use this, but make it new DM friendly, I'm thinking we'll start at level 1. So that way a new DM could take this as their starting campaign and run with it, is sort of what my thought is here. So we're going to say intended levels 1 to 10. Oops. I want to unbold this because I think it will look more visually helpful if it just the answer is a little bit different than the question, so to speak here. Territory ownership. I haven't decided this yet. We haven't decided on a final enemy or anything like that yet. So I think what I can say here is territory ownership. I'm gonna unbold here. It is going to be. We can say we'll say the city name. I should probably change that city name to being something that is easy to say for the sake of anyone using it. This is. I am willing to confess that trying to get anyone else to say this is a bit of what many would call a dick move. Novotroi Kladny. It's not that hard to say. It's just a lot of consonants with not a whole lot of... I mean, there's even a lot of vowels. They're just not conventionally used in the English language in, like, those combinations. But we'll do that, and we'll say friendly. Why am I trying to put an S in friendly? There's no S in friendly. But we'll say that. And then I also like to say whatever the main baddie is going to be. We are going to eventually add in a BBEG, Big Bad Endgame. We are going to add that, but I haven't decided on what that's going to be for this region yet. And that will be one of the earlier things, but we'll get there. You know, baby steps at a time. That's one of the important things. It's one of the things that I'm always trying to emphasize with my streams here while I'm doing these. Is that it's a process. It's a patient, baby step process trying to create a rich world. You can't just write down 3 details in 20 minutes and call it a world. You know, like it's a patient process, and so I really like to just emphasize that for people. You know, again, trying to gear a lot of this towards new budding DMs. You know, I want my streams. I would love it if my streams were. For while I'm writing, were frequented rather than by large numbers of people, were instead considered like a go-to stopping point for people. You know, if people are asking for advice on like, okay, how do I go about making a homebrew world? I would love it if like we just had a kind of a revolving door of new DMs who are looking for advice. They can come in here, ask questions, look at what I'm working on, and sort of get an idea for how this stuff goes. And then and then send the baby birds off. Gently. Baby birds aren't super gentle, but I would be more gentle. Gently send them out of the nest, off fluttering, beautiful feathers, to create their own worlds and stuff like that. That's what I would really love for these things to be. I don't need big droves of thousands of viewers sitting here. I can't have a conversation if there's thousands of people. I like the smaller groups. I think it's more fun. I think it's more fun that way. Anyway, digression aside. Basic environment. This has got a lot of them. Basically, what we've got here is we've got plains, mountains, and forest. I would say those are the most basic ones we've got going there. We've got lakes and we've got rivers, but those are side adventures to a landlocked environment, right? So we're working with plains, mountains, and forest. Those are our big regions here that we've got going on, which is going to be fun. It's going to be fun to be able to do that, and I'm thinking that could almost set us up to being a good situation where there's like almost 3 BBEGs, right? You've got maybe 3 tiers, like maybe the Mountain King, mountains have like the Giant King or something like that. We could do a giant themed situation in the mountains, and that's kind of like the real big one, the ultimate test of these guys once they get to level 10. What are they capable of handling? We can do something like that in the mountains, but then maybe at like levels, at level 6 and level 8, there are other like bad guys that like their missions kind of terminate at in this, that, or the other place, and they would be good stopping points if that's just the storyline that players ended up following, right? And that would give us, again, if we're trying to create something that can be a good sandbox for someone to use themselves, if that's what my goal is, providing 3 options in one that could be done in any combination or isolation of each other, would be great. You could do them as 3 separate campaigns. You could do them all as one big massive one. Whatever. Whatever. Um, I think that's going to work out really well. So common resources. This is less essential for making something that I'll share with the world, because it's much more important for using a more robust crafting system, which I use in my games, but I cannot claim it as my own development. I use I'll have to share a link to it to give credit where credit's due. I'd have to find where I found it again. But someone else took the time to create a more consistent and regulated crafting system that makes it easier for characters or for players to choose what they want to craft and utilize crafting more frequently for making things, as opposed to just hoping that the DM is nice enough to provide something in a store. And I find that just makes games more fun, and my players always seem to find that as well. So we like doing that, and that's what the common resources are about. It's more so about like, what are players most likely to find if they're scavenging for potion ingredients? Like, is this region filled with, is this more of a region filled with like flowers and stuff that are going to be causing poisons? Like if it's in a swamp, right, then it's going to be more so mosses and stuff like that. The plains are going to be more flowers and things like that. So I'm going to say plains. Well, I don't know. I'm almost tempted to just leave that blank, and like I can add it in for my own use later. No, I'm gonna add it. Plains will have. Gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm itching my nose so much. It's one of those days, man. It's one of those days where my allergies are like, your hand is gonna be stuck to your face, and you're gonna like it, you little bitch. Yeah, you know how it is. Sometimes our brains and bodies are mean to us, because that's just what it means to be a biological creature in this hellscape of a world that we all live in. So for the plains, common resources are definitely going to be grasses, flowers, whatnot. It's more of a thematic thing than anything else. Grasses and flowers. We'll just do a little dash there to sort of delineate there. Mountains will have stones and ores is what it's going to be. So it's going to be much better for like crafting weapons as opposed to doing alchemy type stuff. Oops, just do that. And then forest, we're going to do trees. I'm thinking trees and shrooms are going to be the common ones there. And so it's more so about flavoring things. So like I say, sometimes I'll get more detailed and be like, oh, this plane's going to have much more like healing based stuff as opposed to poisonous type stuff. Like the forests are going to have more poisonous type stuff. Plains will probably have more like more healing, more powerful, like power imbuing type stuff, and the mountains are definitely going to be much more all about providing things you need for unique weapons and armor crafting. There'd be much more unique ores if someone wanted to try and make an obsidian sword or something funky like that, which I'm always on board to allow. I always think that's fun. I always think that's really fun. The hard part about it is sometimes players will start being like, I want to specifically find this item because they read it in some other documentation. It's like, well, that doesn't make sense for this region, and so I kind of have to find a reason to do it because I like giving my players what they want. I'm a little pushover that way, but all right. And then territory, and then the nearest city, that is going to be, in this case, it's going to be Fosvik. I think that's how I spelled it. But yeah, that's going to be the nearest city in this situation, because Fosvik that's like the actual walled off protected city. So I'm thinking one thing that can be good for a storyline, and I'm kind of in the back of my brain thinking about this a lot, is one of the threats and one of the storylines could be that there's, and like this could be the giants and stuff like that. The giants are frustrated that the all of the tiny people are starting to really encroach upon their territory again, and they've liked having the mountains completely to themselves. They're worried the dwarves are going to come back and start taking parts of the mountains or something like that. So there's like maybe this ongoing siege, or like they start a siege or an assault on the city, and so like the final act of the whole campaign can be, do they save the city from the giants? Do they find a way to do that, or is Novo destroyed at the end of it, right? And that gives us a good solid sense of purpose for the players and stuff like that. Very generalized, right? It, like, we can almost make it so that a DM can choose, do the players have to go to the final dungeon, which is the giant, homeland deep in the mountains, or does the DM want to throw an audible and say, like, no, the final is going to be when the giants attack and the players have to help defend the city, or something like that. Like, it gives a lot of wiggle room for options if people want to take this as a framework as opposed to a finished, complete campaign, which is something I'm always going to encourage. I think people should always make edits and audibles based on what is going to be best for their particular campaign with their characters and players. Well, their players and those players' characters. There we go. So, but yeah, so the nearest city is Fossvik, and that's, again, it's going to be more so for me, just so that way I have an idea about, like, if it comes to, oh, they're fleeing the city, and then maybe at some point in time the players need to help escort them to safety, well, they're going to escort them along the road to Fossvik, is what's going to happen. So that way it's just like, the detail is there. Again, adding almost too much detail, over planning for these things. So that way I'm just ready to go, whatever my players decide they want to do. So, we've got that. Quick list is just going to be basically a table of contents, which gets added at the end. Yeah, and so the next thing is territory generators. But again, I'm looking at the time now, and I've only got 5 minutes before I got to scoot on out of here. So I'm thinking maybe it's going to be a good time to go ahead and call it a session. We got ourselves a beautiful map made, and we started thinking about what sorts of... Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Get rid of that. There we go. We started thinking about what kind of general atmosphere we want to add to this region. But truthfully, I'm just really pleased with how this map turned out. I think this looks like a very fun map. I'm very excited to build this. And I hope everyone else is excited to join me on this. I hope hope people come along and find this interesting, entertaining, helpful, what have you, all these things. But yeah, I think it's time for me to go ahead and call it a session. So thank you to everyone who stopped by. Opened up with some fun conversation, to be sure. If you missed it, go watch the VOD. A very wholesome conversation. But yeah, we had some good conversations here. And it sounds like people are kind of interested in seeing where this project goes. So I'm gonna keep pushing through with it. I'm excited about it. I think it's gonna be fun. I'm feeling enthusiastic about it. I am absolutely excited about working on a new region. I think it's gonna be good stuff. So yes, thank you for everyone who stopped by. And if you are watching the VOD, I do see, I check on these things, and I see a lot of people do stop by and check out the VODs, and I really appreciate that. Again, I find that flattering that people are interested enough to try and watch me after the fact, right? Like they're not just waiting for, he's live right now. Like, I think it's really cool that people are interested in coming back when the stream is over and still checking out what I'm working on. That's encouraging to me, and I hope that trend continues, just because that says to me that this is something that is helpful and interesting to people for whatever their motivations are. So yeah, I think that's really cool, and I'm really flattered by it. Flattered and humbled by it. I didn't think that I would be very close to 100 followers this early. I thought it would take me years to get there, truth be told. So I'm very flattered by it. I'm very encouraged. And if, you know what, and I'll say it too, if you know any aspiring DMs or some people that you think would be interested in the world building stuff, let them know that I'm here. Let them know I'm here. I love to talk with people. I love to discuss different motivations, different approaches to DMing. I love all that stuff. I think that's so much fun, and that's why I keep doing these streams. I have as much fun as I seem to be providing to other people, right? This isn't just like a job for me. This is fun. I enjoy this. I really enjoy this. So, anyway, I'll stop gushing about my super awesome fan club. So announcements for upcoming streams. definitely streaming one more time this week, maybe only one more time this week. I'm going to try and stream both tomorrow and Friday. I don't know if that'll happen and I don't know which days I will definitely stream, because I have some work type stuff that I really got to take care of before my vacation next week. And that will, like, I have to go out and do some inspections, and that might keep me away from my desk even over lunch hour so that I can't be sitting here to stream. That might end up being the situation. I got to play it by ear. Got to play it by ear because I do got to pay the bills, which means I do have to give a little bit of priority to my day job. So that's what's the deal with the streams. If I do stream both days, tomorrow is Mass Effect is what I'm going through. I like to do my little gaming streams, and that's just a place to chill out and shoot the shit with people who are interested. I do that, and then Friday we'll be back to doing some more writing if I'm here. And then, as I just kind of said, next week, no streams. I will be out of town. I'm going on vacation. I'm taking a vacation. It's been a long time since I've been able to go out. I've got a couple things with some friends. We're all vaccinated, and we're all very excited about just having some fun for a change. You know, it just being able to, I mean, quite literally breathe freely. You know, go out and relax and enjoy each other's company and just have some fun with it. So it's going to be good. I'm really excited about it. I'm hoping I can come back rejuvenated, re-inspired to work on a lot of cool stuff. You know, maybe inspired to do some more streaming and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so that's next week. Don't expect anything next week. Maybe there'll be a day when I'm, you know, in between traveling stuff that I'm at my apartment and I can stream a little bit. Don't hold your breath though. But yeah, that's what's coming up. Other announcements too. I've been alluding to possibly, you know, being able to expand my efforts beyond just the stream to adding a Discord channel, being able to start, you know, like I say, this project is all about disseminating. I have gotten confirmation that I will be able to continue working from home post-COVID, which means I will continue to be able to stream, you know, moving on after COVID, because I'm still going to be home for my lunch periods is when I'm doing that. So yeah, I'm very thrilled about it, John. They've taken their time in giving us that confirmation, but they have given it to us. I might end up having to change my streaming schedule a bit depending on, because it sounds like they're going to expect a certain degree of hybrid. So there might be, you know, a certain number of days per month or week that I have to stop in at the office. So there might be some changes coming up from there. But the real important upshot is that I'm not going to have to abruptly stop streaming despite starting this and getting some people that are interested in my stuff. So because of that, I'm feeling better about going through the efforts to expand what I do a little bit, add a Discord channel, start really, you know, working on finding a good, consistent way of, you know, sharing what I'm making in this OneNote notebook and stuff like that. I gotta look into figuring out exactly how to do that smoothly. So it might not happen until July, just because June is so busy, but I am doing that type of stuff. And, you know, I'm excited about it. This is so much fun. This is a fun little side project that I've found here with streaming, and I'm really stoked to be able to continue doing it. And like I say, I'm really stoked that there are people that are interested and encouraging me to continue doing it. I like that. I feel good about that. But yeah, I said I would stop gushing, so I'm not going to start again. Beyond just saying thank you again to everyone who stopped by. Thank you for everyone who's watching the VODs. I appreciate that so immensely. It means a lot to me. And then just as always, I do ask, just go out and be good to each other, right? You know, let's be good people to each other. I think it's sometimes easier to be easier to be dismissive of each other and ignore each other. But I think it's better for us to be good to each other and be friendly to each other. So let's try and be better than the world around us. You know, that's always my goal for every day, and I hope that I can maybe inspire some other people to adopt that as their own goal. But yeah, so let's do that. Just keep being the awesome people that I know y'all are, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next time. So you take care of yourselves.